Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I am proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's real mother. In this episode, I'm going to talk about Michael Jackson's Moonwalk book and the passages he wrote referring to Diana Ross. So here it is. I'm going to go ahead and read some of it, and I'm going to talk about my explanation of when I hear what he's saying. I'm going to explain what I see. Also, I looked up a little bit of information about the book. I wanted to see what year it was published. I wanted to double check that. So it was published in 1988. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting and was so funny was it was published from the publisher Doubleday. And Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, she wrote the introduction on the book also. She edited the book and wrote an introduction. And I'm a big Jerry Seinfeld fan. And it's funny because Elaine in the Seinfeld series, she went to apply for that exact job. It was the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis' editing job at Doubleday. And that's when Elaine ended up working for Mr. Pitt. That's when she got that job. She was applying for that. So I thought it was so funny when I had seen that that's who did this. And I was like, oh, it just reminded me of Jerry Seinfeld because I'm a Seinfeld fan also. So anyway, so here we go. So Michael says, I have always loved her very much. I'm crazy about her. She was my mother, my lover, and my sister, all combined in one amazing person. So those words there, those are words that are used starting with Berry Gordy, from what I understand, that he would use that with the people that were in the Motown family, because he would always refer to it as a family. And he would tell the people, I think this is some kind of coding that he would use to tell those people, we're closer than family, we're closer than friends, we're all of that, you know, we're together. He was using those words to show a togetherness of how there was a family unit with them. And so Diana Ross used those words on Michael Jackson, and that's what Michael is using to these words here. So, you know, I would say, look at, she was my mother, the first thing. I would say, see. But you guys would all come back and say, well, look at the very next thing, my lover, you know, and I understand. And it's hard to understand what that means. It's just saying that we're closer than just a mother. We're closer than just a lover. We're closer than a sister. We're all of it combined. That's what they're saying. That's what those words are meaning, that there's a real closeness between them. So Diana didn't find us at first, but I don't think we'll ever be able to repay Diana properly for all she did for us in those days. When we finally moved to Southern California, we actually lived with Diana and stayed with her for more than a year. That's crazy, more than a year, on a part-time basis. She was wonderful, mothering us and making us feel right at home. She really helped take care of us for at least a year and a half, even extends it now longer to a year and a half, while my parents closed up the Gary house and looked for a house we could all live here in California. So, a year and a half, Michael's around Diana. As soon as they come to Motown, they move to California, Michael's basically living with Diana Ross for over a period of like a year and a half. And he referred instantly, again here, mothering, the first word here, not the lover, no lover thing. What does he say? Mothering us. Now let's take it back, because people think the lover thing. Let's say that Diana Ross progressed this relationship into what I've heard people many times say, that Diana Ross took Michael Jackson's virginity on the set of The Wiz. And, okay, so let's say that did occur. So then what you're saying then is that Diana wasn't being a mother, she was grooming Michael. This is what you people are saying. If that happened, from what Michael's talking about here with his relationship with Diana, it's either a very close friendship, or is she grooming him to be a lover? You know, which one is it? You people, you don't understand. Once you say the one thing, it's like, well, that opens this door then. If you're going to say Diana had sex with Michael, well, then that opens up all the doors to the grooming of Michael through this process right here of what you can see in his own words where he's living with her. And then what that would do is if Michael was groomed, by an older woman and have that, then that would lead to where the Michael would become the pedophile. People would say, well, see, he's grooming the kids. Do you see how that is in relation? So if you people say that Diana Ross is having sex with Michael, that story is going to lead to Michael being a pedophile every single time. Once you open that door, that's where you're going. I'm the one saying Michael's not a pedophile, and I'm saying I can prove he's not a pedophile because I can say he was damaged by this personal experience he had with Diana Ross. And so look at what happened. You got to remember, Michael Jackson knows Diana Ross, the star, before this time, before this event. So Michael Jackson, like any young boy, would have had a crush on Diana Ross. So now, next thing you know, he's living with her. I mean, how does that happen in the real world? How many people does that actually happen to? Here's a big star. Next thing you know, you're living with her, and she's all over him. She's very possessive of him. Let's keep reading on here. This was an important period in my life because Diana loved art and encouraged me to appreciate it too. She took the time to educate me about it. We'd go out almost every day. Just the two of us, almost every day. Do you really think Joe Jackson would have allowed that to happen? Hell no. Just the two of them, almost every day. Diana is all up in Michael's business. How does this happen? Joe Jackson would not allow this to happen. In Michael's own words, we'd go out almost every day, just the two of us, and buy pencils and paint. When we weren't drawing or painting, we'd go to the museums. She'd introduce me to the works of the great artists like Michelangelo and Degas. And that was the start of my lifelong interest in art. Michelangelo, he painted the ceiling in the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. And I think he also did the famous sculpture called David. You know, Michelangelo is one of the all-time great artists of all time. And I do think that the name Michael came from Diana, and it's either related to the Michelangelo or it's related to Michael, the archangel Michael. I think it has some relation to those things, and that's where Michael gets his name from. And you can see how Diana's taking him to see Michelangelo, and it shows right there. She really taught me a great deal. See, she's not just hanging out with him, she's teaching him, and the reason she's hanging out with him all the time and spending so much of this attention is because she has all these lost years that she has to make up for. And at this time, I don't think she's actually given birth to Rhonda Ross Gordy at this time. So she's not actually a mother, so why does she have this massive motherly instinct thing that's going on with her and Michael? There's something majorly going on there. She really taught me a great deal. It was so new to me and so exciting. It was really different from what I was used to doing, which was living and breathing music, rehearsing day in and day out. You wouldn't think a big star like Diana would take the time to teach a kid to paint, to give him an education in art, but she did, and I loved her for it. I still do. I'm crazy about her. She was my mother, my lover, my sister, all combined in one amazing person. So you can see the influence that this woman has on Michael Jackson. And is it sexual? Hell no. There's nothing sexual in that relationship there at that time, I don't believe whatsoever. Whatever Diana's doing with him, why is she doing it with him? Why is it him? Why is she pulling him aside? Why does she have this connection? And then when you see her on television, what's she calling him? My child, my son, my baby. Do you really think the little excuse of the little Motown quote about being the mother, do you think that justifies her to insult Joe Jackson and Katherine Jackson that way? To pull Michael Jackson away? Why wasn't she helping out all the other kids? Why is she alone with Michael every day, over a period of a year and a half? Which, as I say, that's when she told him the truth. That's what the song Billie Jean is about. It's really obvious. Let me see, sure, okay, here. Okay, let me see here. Okay. Trying to see the part here. Okay, there we go. So Motown bought The Wiz for one reason. And as far as I was concerned, it was the best reason possible. Diana Ross. Diana Ross. It's everything. Everything's about Diana Ross. Making The Wiz was an education for me on so many levels. As a recording artist, I already felt like an old pro. But the film world was completely new to me. I watched as closely as I could and learned a lot. The problems on the set were really few and far between, and it was great working with Diana so closely. She's such a beautiful, talented woman. Doing the movie together was very special for me. I love her very much. I have always loved her very much. When I heard Diana Ross was getting married, I was happy for her because I knew it would make her very joyous. Still, it was hard for me because I had to walk around pretending to be overwhelmed that Diana was getting married to this man I'd never met. I wanted her to be happy, but I have to admit that I was a bit hurt and a little jealous because I've always loved Diana and always will. So this love that's going on between them, like I said, if you take it into the sexual thing, well, then you're saying that Diana was grooming him. What else would it say? If she's hanging out with him, pulling him aside from the Jacksons, giving him special attention, training him in art, giving him all these insights, making him feel special, but then you're going to say that she's going to have sex with him, and then it said right there that the whole reason they bought The Wiz was so that it was for Diana Ross, and then you knew Michael Jackson, the whole connection. So you're talking about a grooming thing. If you're saying that there's sex going on, that's a grooming thing. Then Diana Ross is a disgusting scumbag pedophile, basically, is what you're saying. If you're saying Diana Ross ever had sex with Michael Jackson, you're calling Diana Ross a pedophile because she groomed him then, which I say did not happen. I say Diana Ross is his mother. She used that time to make up for the lost time that they were not together for all of those years. She was overcompensating, and that's why Michael then fell in love with her in a certain way, because it's weird. You got to remember, he's not raised in a house with her. He's never actually seen her like a mother. It's more like a friend and thing. And with Michael, there is a little bit more of a crush that develops. That's an unnatural thing, but they never were together. That's just ridiculous. Michael said things in the media, but was an obvious lie. It's just things that he did in the media. Michael's always lying to the media. That's his job. That's his job. Once he got to Motown, he learned how to lie to the media. That's what he does. So this is what's going on here. Michael's telling you, I'm hanging out with Diana Ross over a period of a year and a half, alone, every day. Diana Ross is constantly calling Michael her child. Diana Ross ends up in Michael Jackson's will, which would not have happened if Michael was having sex with her to the point that he writes a song, Dirty Diana. If he was so offended by her to the point where then he gets older and writes the song Dirty Diana, and that song is right around the books in 88, so that's right around the time Dirty Diana had come out. So that song had already come out by the time this book is being written also. And the other thing, in the Doubleday thing, I forgot I wanted to mention, the first writing of the book, it was refused by Doubleday because it said it lacked juicy details. And that's the thing. A publisher, they know what honesty is. That's their job. That is their craft. And they understand that honesty is what the book is all about. If you're not going to be honest, then they're not going to publish the book. Doubleday refused to publish Michael Jackson's first writing of the Moonwalk book because it wasn't true. It wasn't authentic. They could tell this is a book that you're trying to tell a story. They said, we're not publishing that book. We're here to publish your autobiography. If you want to write that book, we'll do it. And then that's what he did. He ended up writing a real book, and they published that book. Okay, so thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.